李小龙于1973年去世之后，他所留下的截拳道技艺由他生前的弟子们继续传播和发展，其中影响最大的包括伊鲁山度和黄景明师傅。而在今天的截拳道领域，汤米·克鲁瑟斯师傅无疑是最负盛名的一位。在苏格兰格拉斯哥东区的暴力街区长大的汤米，有近40年的格斗训练经验，精通柔道、巴西柔术、摔跤、空手道、拳击、咏春等多种武术门类，最终选择截拳道为最终武术方向，并被推荐给李小龙最后的入室弟子黄景明。他向黄景明学习了截拳道后期的技战术体系，包括利用节奏与破坏节奏以及距离控制等。汤米·克鲁瑟斯以实战能力强、出手快捷、动作迅猛著称，被称为“白李小龙”。李小龙授业师兄黄纯良的徒弟大卫·彼得森称其为除李小龙外最快的拳。汤米·克鲁瑟斯认为，截拳道是他一生所学武艺中最直接有效的，并认为李小龙的理论在今天仍不会过时，正如两点之间永远直线最短一样。今年56岁的他仍然奔波于世界各地，传播教授截拳道。本月，在汤米·克鲁瑟斯受中国截拳道印星会邀请来京进行截拳道讲习会之际，中国功夫史对其进行了独家访问。这也是汤米·克鲁瑟斯首次参加中国节目的录制，也为广大截拳道和武术爱好者留下了一次难得的珍贵资料。
And that moving to the inside and moving in between the guy's hands, which people do in Wing Chun, is dangerous. So MMA is a sport and people have to try and remember it's a sport, and Jeet Kune Do is not a sport, and you could lose your life. I know two guys, two friends of mine, who ended up on the ground in a fight and both died because they never get back up. I mean, people always say to me, "No, do you think that Jeet Kune Do that you teach is better than anybody else? It's more direct?" And my answer to that is yes. I think the Jeet Kune Do I teach is better than anybody else, and I always say to them, show me a better way. Okay, hello Chinese Kung Fu history. This is me back in Beijing to do another seminar. I think this is the second one I've done this year, and I've done many in China and many in Beijing. Maybe see you guys maybe next year, 2016. Quite welcome to come along to the seminar and see some Jeet Kune Do and maybe start your journey into Bruce's martial art, or even to help you understand Jeet Kune Do in a more simple, direct and efficient way.
In Jeet Kune Do we have three primary targets. Okay, the longest one is we have the knee, next one we have the groin and with the eyes. So these are the kind of primary targets that would attack right away. If you look at Bruce's progressive weapons chart, you see leg first and then hand. So we try and use the leg first because that's your leg's longer, it's more powerful in the hand. Once the guy gets by the leg, then they go in the hand, so it's kind of angle there. So we could either take up a stance, or we could use this for a natural posture, and usually to start halfway we would train for the stance, then later on we would work this for a natural posture. So if I was going to kick for a natural posture back here, I'd see the knee for here, and I would just go for a little move. I would just go for here and break the leg. Quite simple, just straight in. Okay? If I'm slightly closer and the groin's shut here like this, or if it's done that way, if the groin's open for here, then I would just attack the groin. Simple as that. If I felt as if this shot here was too much jammed up for here, then I would just attack the eyes. So it's quite simple. Okay? I just look at the target, I feel the distance, and I know where I'm going. So for here I'd attack the eyes, further back I would attack the groin, and if the leg forward for here, I would just break the leg. So just breaking the leg, that's it. That's as simple as possible, there's no messing about. If the opponent had grabbed my wrist here like this for here, then I would just attack the eye. Simple as that. I might kick him, but to kick him I've got to lift my leg, and it's simpler for me to attack the eye this way. So anytime the guy happens to grab me, depending on the distance, I'll usually attack the eye, because usually when the person grabs you, it's difficult to lift your leg and kick, so usually I attack the eye, no unless I can hit the groin. So everything's really simple, there's nothing complicated with this stuff here, and it's designed for fighting. It's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's one shot off to here, or a shot here, or just a quick attack with the leg. That's it.
你好，师傅，很高兴能够采访你。 感谢你这次来中国教课，这么辛苦。有些问题想问你，想向您请教。第一个是，您最早接触李小龙是什么时候
？The first time I heard about Bruce Lee was roughly 1974, and that was probably a year after Bruce Lee died, because it was well known in America, but it wasn't well known in Europe, and it wasn't really until after he died, 73, then the year after that, 1974, that his movies were actually shown in the UK. But prior to that, people didn't know who Bruce Lee really was. So my first exposure to Bruce Lee was roughly summer of 1974.
那您那时候是只是看电影喜欢，但是已经开始练拳了吗？已经练习武术了吗？
Well, before I was exposed to any of Bruce Lee's martial art, or even to any of the kind of movies that Bruce acted in, I was already practicing a martial art since probably about maybe 9 or 10-year-old. My father, he taught me military unarmed combat that he was taught during World War II, so that was the first exposure I had to any kind of martial art, was British military unarmed combat. Then after 74, when I saw Bruce moving, saw him punch and kick and do various other techniques, I really wanted to pursue this kind of line of martial art, or this expression of fighting, which I have been pursuing since 1974 until the present day. The military stuff that my father taught me was more or less a lot of kind of locks and finger locks and chokes, and just groin hits. It really was quite simple stuff, you know. It wasn't very complicated, but the majority of the stuff that he taught me was grappling type techniques.
那你后来练习截拳道是什么时候呢？正式开始练习截拳道是什么时候开始的？
I would say probably just after 1974 I became very interested in Bruce's martial art, and I really pursued it from there, trying to find out, you know, how Bruce moved, how he kicked and how he punched, and the theory behind the martial art. No, you know, in the UK, way back then, there was nobody that taught Jeet Kune Do. There was probably not even anybody that actually understood Jeet Kune Do, so really had to try and pursue this myself without having a teacher, which is quite it's quite challenging when you don't have somebody to point you in the right direction all the time. It's very, very difficult. Having a teacher, you can learn a lot quicker as long as the teacher understands, you know, the martial art, as long as she understands the progression and how the components fit together, and how the step-by-step progression leads you from a beginner through intermediate and then to a senior practitioner. But to find somebody that can actually take you on this journey or this path, even to this present day, is very, very difficult.
那你开始练习是去美国练习吗？开始练习截拳道。
Roughly, I would say maybe the late 80s. I went to America. The first teacher that I studied under was one of James Lee's students called Gary Dill. I went to America to train with him, then I come back here and I ran a school under his direction. Well, really when I went to the States, I went to sit an examination to see if I could become an instructor in his organisation, because up to then I had been teaching myself, and then I come back and ran a school and represented his organisation until I found out through Jesse Glover that.
那您是第二位老师是Jesse Glover， 你跟他练习非传统功夫吗？
Through an article in an American martial arts magazine, sent him a letter and asked him if he'd like to come to Glasgow to teach a seminar. He asked me to call him. I called him, and then he asked me who I was studying under. I told him I had been studying under Gary Dill, who was a student of James Lee's, and he recommended that, you know, that I shouldn't really be training in this line because that this guy did not spend as long with James Lee as he was telling people. So on Jesse's recommendation, I stopped representing Gary Downey's organisation, and then Jesse came to my school. He taught a seminar and started to teach me non-classical Kung Fu and forward pressure, chi sao, chain punching and various other components of non-classical Kung Fu that actually came from Jun Fan Kung Fu. And then up until Jesse died, I was friendly with Jesse for maybe close to 20 years. He was my teacher and easily my best friend out of everybody that has taught me stuff that Bruce taught them. Also, Ted Wong was another teacher of mine, and I trained with Ted for maybe about, I would say maybe about 15 years, but I really couldn't be, it's not any less than 15 years, it could maybe be 16 or 17 years. And he came to my school every year, apart from a couple of years, and he taught at the school, and I became an instructor under Ted Wong. And in between that, Jess introduced me to Howard Williams in the States, and then Howard came to the school and done 2 seminars and taught the stuff that Bruce was teaching in Oakland, and talked about how, you know, Bruce and James, how they kind of had a good rapport with each other, and how really James Lee was instrumental in helping Bruce develop his martial art. And Howard came to school twice, and I met him in America, and I was introduced to him with Jesse, and I really did like the stuff that Howard taught. Howard was very fast, very powerful, and his techniques were very compact, and I really did like Oakland Jeet Kune Do. So I've trained in earlier stuff, you know, some Jun Fan and non-classical Kung Fu. I've also trained in Oakland with Howard, and also another friend and a teacher of mine, Mr. Leo Fong. I've been taught by him, and then Ted Wong. So really I've trained with quite a lot of people, you know, that Bruce taught or James Lee taught. Also Mario McDango and Gary Kaganen and Felix Macia, these guys. And then later on, I was invited to go to the States and spent a short time with Bob Bremer and that group there, which was quite interesting. But so since 1974 really, and really developing Jeet Kune Do and refining it, and at this moment in time I'm travelling to different countries and teaching Jeet Kune Do to different groups that's under my direction, and trying our best to make sure that Jeet Kune Do is taught at a high standard and a high level, and the people that represent my organisation, Intercepting Fist organisation, and teach it to the best of their ability and the best of their understanding, the best of the teaching and guidance I've gave them. So the whole idea is to try and make sure that Jeet Kune Do is, how could you say, is well represented, because really Jeet Kune Do is not really well represented at this moment in time, and even in the past it's really been misrepresented, with a lot of things taught that really aren't in Jeet Kune Do, and a lot of things taught that Bruce would never have used. It seems to be that people kind of distorted his philosophy and his theories, and they seem to think that Jeet Kune Do is everything added together into this mishmash of everything that doesn't make any sense and doesn't represent Bruce's martial art. And the first and foremost, that Jeet Kune Do was developed for street fighting. It's not a sport. It's a very effective, efficient martial art designed for inflicting a lot of pain and a lot of damage on somebody as soon as possible. But when I look at the kind of current Jeet Kune Do out there, it's pretty bad, and I think people are misguided and they're mistaught. It seems to be everything stuck together and called Jeet Kune Do, which Bruce's martial art doesn't consist of everything stuck together and called Jeet Kune Do. So is it the martial art has some kind of credibility? It's misrepresented in every sense of the word, I should say, and we have this representation that it's badly put together Wing Chun, which it's not, and then we have this other misrepresentation with other people that's a sloppy type of kickboxing, that lacks anything really kind of fundamental that you would be using for real to finish people fast in the street.
那您觉得截拳道跟 MMA 有什么区别？
And then we have this massive representation that it's connected to mixed martial arts and MMA, which Jeet Kune Do is not connected to it in any sense of the word. If it's connected to it, it's only connected to it that people in MMA kick and punch, and people in Jeet Kune Do kick and punch, but people in other martial arts systems like karate, Thai boxing, and various kung fu systems kick and punch. So that being connected to MMA, I think, is misleading and pointless, and it's really destructive in Bruce's martial art, when Jeet Kune Do is, you know, the sole purpose is to go there, finish the encounter fast, and that's it. And in MMA is a sport which there's no groin kicks, no leg breaks, no finger jabs. If MMA had groin kicks, finger jabs, and, you know, knee kicks, then most fights in MMA would last about 2 seconds, and after a short length of time, people wouldn't want to get in the ring in case they get an eye missing, their leg smashed, or their groin kicked or ripped, and fighters would have a very, very short career. So MMA is a sport, and people have to try and remember it's a sport, and Jeet Kune Do is not a sport. But there is many things in MMA, punches and kicks, that could be used on the street. A lot of the grappling they use in MMA is highly dangerous against multiple opponents on the street to take somebody onto the ground. And the street is dangerous as well as stupid, and you could lose your life. I know 2 guys, 2 friends of mine, who ended up on the ground in a fight and both died because they never get back up. One guy get kicked to death, another guy get, you know, he got hit with weapons and he never survived. So human being for real stands his best chance standing upright and no rolling about on the ground. You know, it's okay then in a controlled environment where a referee, where you can roll about and somebody can go stop, or you can tap somebody, but on the street there's nobody to tap you, and people could pull a knife out, stab you. So that kind of practice should be reserved for the mat and appreciated for the mat, but to be made aware that for real that would be really extremely dangerous to do, you know. So.
既然您跟很多位李小龙的徒弟都学习过，那么你怎么看待李小龙这个武术的转变、武术的发展？
Really, Bruce's martial art, you know, went through a few changes and a few kind of reshaping processes, and his martial art became more streamlined. It became more efficient. It started off more or less very much Wing Chun orientated, and then Bruce realised the limitations of Wing Chun, the footwork and the punching, etc., and just the close-in fighting, where everything had to be pretty close before you can conclude and finish anything off. And you saw the limitations that you have to be too close to a guy to finish it. So he wanted to be able to stand a bit further back and be able to move in and hit the person and finish it without having to get in and tie them up and do complicated manoeuvres. And I think once he saw fencers and boxers, how boxers can move, and they can throw punches from any angles, and you know they can move pretty fast and move to the safe side where it's difficult for you to get a shot in. And I think he liked how fencers could close in and had really fast footwork, and they could close in and just, you know, strike with the sword, and they could finish it if this was for real. So, you know, he saw the Western martial arts seem to be a lot more dynamic than the Eastern side of things. Eastern martial arts, the kind of philosophy and the concept was pretty interesting, but I think a lot of Eastern martial arts really kind of lacked the mobility of Western martial arts. So when people talk about Jeet Kune Do is, you know, an Eastern martial art, they're extremely incorrect, because Jeet Kune Do is actually a Western martial art, because the 2 components that make it up, or 2 biggest components, are fencing and boxing. And Western swordplay is different from Eastern swordplay, and there's no anything in the West that resembles boxing, because it's a Western martial art.
或者第一个，他把咏春做了一些修改，那么他在截拳道里面还保留了咏春的什么内容？
I think the things I actually kept were some of the theory in Wing Chun would be similar to some of the theory in fencing. It'd be similar theory, you know, but Wing Chun's got too many limitations. It's got too many limitations. And that moving to the inside and moving in between the guy's hands, which people do in Wing Chun, is dangerous. They want to command the centre. But if you command the centre, the guy can still use 2 hands and 2 feet. You might be here, but he can still hit you. So that's what he used at the start, and he realised that this was dangerous. So later on he used the boxing theory, and the boxing theory is to move to the outside, no move to the inside. So the basic boxing theory, if you're left side up, is boxer wants to move to this side, because then you can't get hit with the cross. If you move to that side, you can get hit with the cross. So basic boxing theory would be for here is to move to the outside. That side here. So Bruce liked the idea of moving to the outside. So later on everything was shoot in and move to the outside. Depending what foot the guy had forward gives you an indication. Because if he's got a left foot forward, chances a right-handed fighter. If he's got a right foot forward, chances a left-handed fighter. So you want to stay away from the most powerful weapon. So on the Wing Chun side of things, you move into in between the guy here, but he can still punch and kick you. So Bruce realised that, and the only way you can stop this is to try and tie the hands up. But this, when you try to tie them up, you can be punched or kicked or grabbed. Anything can happen. So later on, his idea wasn't about tying the guy's hands up. His idea was about hitting and moving off and being safe and hitting again or finishing for there. So started off with a kind of Eastern type philosophy and theory, and then later on he realised that this had too many limitations, and later on there's a Western theory and application which was a bit safer.
So hand immobilisation attack, you know, this thing here, when you touch the guy's hand, you go like this, you come in, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 2 kind of long drawn. So the whole idea is if you collide with the guy's hand, we'll press that way. The whole idea when you collide with the guy's hand is not to go like this and bring this in here. It's just to move from here and finger jab. So the whole idea is to be simple. Rather than his hand is like this and you meet it and you go like that, this takes too much time. You meet his hand here, you just disengage and hit him. You can see this check is here, so it stops him coming back this way. So if you can do it with one hand, it's far better than doing it with 2. If your hand was coming in like so, and you met it this way, and he's pressing across that way, what's the point in bringing this in and doing that? When you move like that, just disengage and hit, it's far faster. And I don't have to bring this hand in. So the whole idea is you resemble somebody sword fencing, rather than somebody doing this, doing that, doing this and doing that. This is far too slow. Okay?
那击剑呢？李小龙又从击剑里面学过什么东西？
I would say the stance and the footwork and delivery system, you know, they're heavily influenced from fencing, and the ability to disengage lines or change lines or use progressive indirect attack. You draw a line and then switch to a line. Broken rhythm, I think, you know, all these kind of concepts Bruce incorporated from fencing. And the delivery system and the stance was modified really so that he could accelerate fast for a safe distance and strike, whether with a hand or foot, and make sure that it was difficult for the opponent to strike him back. So once he saw how fencers moved, I think he realised that they had a massive advantage over people who maybe had done Wing Chun, where they have to get close onto trap when Bruce could stand further away and just move in and eye jab or move in and kick and just finish it fast, where the person who had done this really wouldn't have a chance to make it work because he's got to be close enough. So Bruce wanted to stand further back and be safer, and if he came towards him, see, the further back you are, the more time you've got to react. The closer in you've got less time to react. That's how in Wing Chun, when they get close they need to stick, because at that distance if they don't stick they get hit. That's how they need to make contact, to feel. If they don't feel, they get punched. Simple. So Bruce denied them the ability to feel. That's how he used broken rhythm and PIA, so that they would be tricked to open a gate and he would sneak in and hit, or sneak in and hit here. So that was the idea behind it. They didn't need to make contact. If they did make contact, there wouldn't have been a trap. It would be just a case of like fencing, the disengage and throw the shot. There'd been moving into laps, packs and all this stuff. You try to contain his hands, which is dangerous and it's too slow. And if you can just shoot in, strike, put him in one position, you strike in another position, recover, then that's far safer. So Bruce Lee was really all about winning. He wanted to win all the time. So he didn't care about martial arts. He just looked for what's the quickest, who moves the fastest, who can cover the most distance. So out of all the people out there in the world that, or out of all the systems in the world that fight, fencers are the fastest at moving without a shadow of doubt. Fencer can close as fast as anything, you know, and can maintain an attack and be really fast. And most people could never get away from a fencer, you know. So he went, okay, right. So that's the delivery system, that's the structure, that's the stance. And I want to just lay the tools on top of it. So what tools do I lay on top of it? Okay, what tools do I put on top of this? I put this on top of it because this is like a sword. Okay, I put the side kick on top of it because that's a long weapon. I put the side kick on top of it. Target's going to be the knee.
那您觉得截拳道跟 MMA 有什么区别？那您觉得现在 MMA 的这种格斗形式是李小龙当年想要推崇的这种格斗形式吗？
MMA is a sport, you know. Okay, there is punching and kicking in it, which would be effective on the street, but you know, what's the point of punching the guy when you can finger jab in the eye and finish him? And what's the point of kicking him in the groin? What's the point of kicking him on the leg or kicking him in the body when you can kick him on the groin and finish it? So they have punches, they have kicks, but the targets they're hitting are targets that's more suitable for the sport environment than for real. Because if you had the chance to kick a guy, why kick him on the thigh when you can kick him on the knee or the groin and finish it? Why? There's no point to it. And why punch a person when you could eye jab him? It's well documented there in Bruce's own writing and his own words, and I really can't remember the exact how he says it, but something like this: given the chance of punching a guy in the head or finger jabbing him in the eye, I would finger jab him every time. It's right there if you want to check it up, you know, in Bruce's notes and Bruce's words. You can look it up and you can see it, and that's in Bruce's own words. So it's exactly what he said. You know, why punch him when you can do this? Faster, longer, stop somebody. This might not stop him. And you want to make sure you finish him and you stop him. That's it. So, but MMA, it's a sport. People follow it, people like it. I watch it sometimes, but really sometimes I just flick it over and watch something else on the History Channel or something, because I just think, for me, it's just boring. Most of the guys that practice MMA, when you watch it, I would prefer to watch a good boxing match than two MMA guys punching. I just like boxing far better. Just looks more skillful, looks a lot more efficient, a lot more refined. The boxers move better, they're not this scrappy throwing punches and like this, and you know, that's it.
说一说您自己的这个教学理念。
Method of teaching. I like to teach things step by step. Slightly different from what other people do, because majority of guys I see there who teach Jeet Kune Do seem to teach a bit of this, a bit of that and a bit of the other. And most people can't figure out how these things go together. So I like to break everything down and just teach a progression of drills and exercises that accumulate up to somebody becoming pretty skillful. So I would say that, you know, use all Bruce's techniques, stance, delivery system, you know, hand stuff, leg stuff. I use some of his original drills, but a lot of stuff, drills I've invented myself. The student to come from a beginner through intermediate to become a senior and become highly skillful. So I would say all the drills and exercises are my invention. I'd say all the techniques and all that stuff really is Bruce's. But I've used my own kind of mind to try and figure out how I can make people become as good as I can make them.
您来中国这么多次教学，你看他们有什么转变没有？
In the past few years, I've seen the students getting a lot better, you know, definitely. It's really just down to the instruction and the guidance, that's it. if you don't have a teacher that can point you in the right direction and show you the means how you can achieve the skill, that's never going to happen, you know. Some people might have a talent, but without a teacher, without somebody help them, you know, they just never get that skill.
那您对这些在中国练习截拳道的这些练习者呢，有没有好的一些建议？
What I tell all the people who run groups under my direction when I leave them is I always tell them to practice the drills and exercises I've shown them until I see them again. Then we can look at them when if we need to update them or we have to modify anything. Then we just take it from there. In the past, some group leaders, after I had done the seminar, were continuing to teach other things, and when I saw them the following year, they were never any better.
师傅，我以前看到您的视频会有非常多的封手的演示，那最近的你的教学好像更加简单一些、直接一些，所以我想问一下，是您自己本人随着练习，对于这个武术的演示，或者说对于截拳道的理解，是有了怎样的一个变化？
Well, you see, there's quite a lot of people out there in the world to teach Jeet Kune Do, and they're still teaching stuff that Bruce threw away. No, I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that what they're practicing isn't a bad thing, but I'm not really in the business to teach things that Bruce threw away, because I don't preserve Jeet Kune Do the same way some of these other guys do. So I really don't preserve it in that sense, but what I do is I follow Bruce's principles and his philosophy. So if all these guys were doing the same thing as I'm doing as far as following Bruce's principles of philosophy, they wouldn't be doing triathlon because they'd be looking for simpler ways. Daily decrease means you should be looking for simpler ways how to do things and reducing any wasted motion or anything that's not as efficient. So it's okay freezing it in time in 1964, Bruce done this and you practice it, and that's okay, but I don't do that. I follow Bruce's philosophy, the same as it Bruce done. Bruce had a philosophy and it was always an ongoing thing of hacking away and refining, so that's what I do. That's how my Jeet Kune Do is different for everybody else's, because they're still stuck in maybe 1967 where maybe they were doing this, and you know, Bruce found quicker ways, more efficient ways and better ways to do things, and he threw them away, the same as we. I mean, people always say to me, no, do you think that Jeet Kune Do that you teach is better than anybody else, is more direct? And my answer to that is yes. I think the Jeet Kune Do I teach is better than anybody else, and I always say to them, show me a better way. If you show me a better Jeet Kune Do, then I'll practice it. But up until then, the Jeet Kune Do I teach is the most refined, the most efficient Jeet Kune Do you can find. But if somebody shows me Jeet Kune Do that's far better, that's more refined, it gets to a target quicker, there's no any wasted motion, then everything I'm practicing now, I'll drop it and I'll practice that. But up to this moment in time, I've not found anybody else that can show me a better way of doing Jeet Kune Do.
那是不是所有人都会走过这条路？从很多的基础开始，然后不断走向经典，是不是这个过程，大家每个人都要走一遍？就从很多复杂的动作。
It's quite funny because just talking about a finger jab, somebody said to me one time, well, we practice a finger jab also, but they never practiced it before, but they practice it now. So I said, okay, so you're practicing it now. Yes. Because up until then, every Jeet Kune Do guy you've seen done this. Now you see more photographs of Jeet Kune Do guys doing this. And this is because Bruce done it? No, this is because you see Tommy doing more finger jabs because Bruce done more finger jabs. So now you don't see photographs like this, you see photographs like this. No, you really don't have to, you know, you don't really have to learn a lot of things and start to drop a lot of things, but you do need something to start with. You do need a start. But that's only if you were teaching yourself. But if you're a student under an instructor's going to show you a quicker way of doing things, so you don't need to go through the same process that he went through. Because you're already getting a cut down version. See, like, what I learned, you know, took me a long time to refine it. So rather than people starting the journey where I started and they're following this journey with me, they just come in here. So I'm showing them a quicker version. I've done all the hard work. and I can show them a quicker version how to become more efficient. So it's took me all this time to throw away and hack and refine things, but when somebody walks in, I can show them a quicker way, and they don't need to go through the same process I went through, having to do this and having to do all this stuff and blah blah blah, because all that stuff you don't need it. You don't need it, you know. But it was good for experience for me when I was younger, you know, to know this stuff and understand it, and for guys that Bruce taught, for them to show me, it was good for that. But, you know, do I need all that stuff? No. Does people need it? No. But it just gave me a lot of experience, which is pretty good. And I think as a teacher, it was good to get experience, but for to be a highly functional, efficient fighter, do you need all that stuff? No. Because people just want to come in, they want you to show them the quickest way how to do things. They don't want to have to go through a process elimination. Just show me how to finish this fast. Show me how to finish it. If I miss the guy, where they go next? So they want, like, fast food. They want a quicker way. And that's it. And Jeet Kune Do is just a quicker way how to accomplish it, without spending all this time learning this, learning that, and doing all this stuff, you know, and show me a fast way. Okay, that's a faster way. And that's it. Okay, hello Chinese Kung Fu history. Hope to see you maybe next year in one of the seminars, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.
使得人人不只有书读，还可以人人有攻略。哦，原来这么有意义啊！是啊。
我不会告诉你，一点资讯是资讯中的高手哦。